You're with Julian on the Brown Note, and at the moment we are embroiled in a huge international spat with China, the like of which we probably haven't really seen before. Now, there's one man that's responsible for this entirely, and that is Scott Morrison. He will never, ever take ownership of any issue he has created. And his judgment has shown to be appalling since his first week or so as Prime Minister, when he sought to bolster the election chances of David Sharma by relocating the Australian embassy to Jerusalem after Trump had, in order to bolster the Jewish vote. It was a terrible idea, and he has not stopped showing how bad his judgment is ever since. But our compliant media, which I'm going to do a piece on after, lets him get away with it every single time. He hides behind whoever he's thrown under the bus. Now, this is back in May. This is what led to what's going on today. It was the interview that sent hairs running around the world. 1 month ago, Foreign Minister Marise Payne told the ABC Insiders programme Australia would push for an independent international inquiry into the outbreak of COVID-19. Prime Minister Scott Morrison went a step further 2 days later, suggesting the World Health Organization needed tough new weapons inspector powers to investigate what caused the outbreak, i.e. China. It was political dynamite. Australia's friends and allies in Europe, still desperately scrambling to contain the pandemic, was startled. Why hadn't Australia got on the phone before wading into such fraught territory? The Chinese government was predictably incensed, accusing Australia of launching a political attack on China and pandering to the United States. The furore intensified after China's ambassador hit back by warning of a consumer boycott. And it was supercharged by China's decision to hit Australian exports of beef and lock in tariffs on barley. This is the beginning. That article, May 20. I said at the time, ScoMo was joining Team Trump in attacking China and throwing Australia under a bus, and we would pay for it in the future. And haven't we paid for it? We've had recently stepped up boycotts of Australian products and tariffs on wine from the world's number one red wine importer, China, and our, I think, second or first global trading partner, China. And we have dozens of boats with our coal off the coast of China, and $117 billion a year in exports to China. And Scott Morrison threw us under a bus without thinking about it, because he never thinks about anything. And this is what happens when your media won't hold you accountable for what you do. And now he has blown it up even further by focusing on the posting of a photo on Twitter of an Australian soldier holding a knife to an Afghan child's neck with the tagline, "We are here to bring you peace." Now, this is again Scott Morrison's fault. It was a Twitter post of a doctored photo, and I believe it was a trap set by China for him, because he is solely based on photo ops and PR and spin. And he saw this, and in his tiny brain thought that it was a great way to rally patriotism around China's attacks on our goods, by being upset and disgusted by something that was a visual representation of what is included in a report about war crimes by SAS soldiers in Afghanistan, which includes the slitting of the throat of 2 teenage Afghan boys and throwing them in a river. Now, this was on Twitter. It didn't need to be made a fuss of. It was nothing. Now, when you are yourself a part of an inquiry that is looking into war crimes against Australian soldiers, acting so upset about a photo on Twitter is idiocy. I believe that this was a setup. They were fishing, and it's given them the opportunity to round on Australia, as they have done today, on the world stage and absolutely destroy us. Now, being upset about a photo, I'm going to try and read one of the things, believe it or not, in the Murdoch press that I saw today, which is what's happening now. I'll see if I can find it, but they have gone absolutely to town on us. I might not. I'll see if I can get it a bit later. But basically saying, how can Australia be so upset about them defending the human rights of Afghans And how can they not be upset about the fact that they've committed war crimes? They're more upset about a photo. It's giving them a chance to drag us through the world media as well. We look like massive hypocrites. And this is at a stage when China are just going to use us as a whipping boy. Now, we were thrown under a bus by Scott Morrison for the benefit of Team Trump back in April, May time. And he doubled down all the way through. Back in June, he was accusing China of cyber attacks. And his belligerent manner has not helped at all. China are not in a position where they need to do anything for us. He did it for Team Trump, and Team Trump is gone. So have you noticed how Trump has been silent in defending Australia? He wouldn't have done it anyway. He uses people like Australia and tosses them away. He doesn't care. He'd care more about the opportunities coming up to import American goods to China. China is now buying American coal. We defended America's position, or Trump's position, in attacking China, and now America is selling their coal to China whilst we aren't. And they are never going to come up and say, we support you, Australia. Or at least they'll do it in a cursory way in the background that's never backed up by anything. This is 100% Scott Morrison's fault. He showed terrible judgment earlier in the year. He's shown terrible judgment by focusing on a photo. I cannot believe that Australia's media is so caught up in a photo. It is a doctored photo. It relates to things that are actually in the reports. And it is utterly meaningless. It was on Twitter, and most people would never have heard about it had Scott Morrison not elevated it into becoming a global issue where you can constantly read article after article where they have to put the context that it's about Australian war crimes in Afghanistan. This is dumb as mud. And Scott Morrison is showing his true colours yet again, that he shows no judgment. He wades in like a bull in a china shop, and he leaves everyone else to pick up the pieces. We've got no right to be offended by a tweeted photo to the extent we have. And Scott Morrison has left our industries in a perilous state by ensuring that China will make the example of us now that Trump has gone. They've been battling Trump for a while, he's gone, and now we're left looking very naked on the global stage. So thank you, Scott Morrison. I blame you 100% for what's happening with China. The Australian media won't. This is last week's feature album, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Idiot Prayer.